Again, Jesus. There's power in the name of.
Next thing you got to learn is lead, how to lead. This is an interesting one. Because, see, many times we think about leading other people. The truth of the matter is, you got to think about how you're leading yourself. Where are you leading yourself to? You have to consider the direction you're going. Consider the things you're doing and how it's either promoting or it's hindering you moving forward. I got to make sure that I lead. If I'm going to, God has blessed me to be the pastor and leader of this ministry, I got to lead myself first. I got to make sure that I'm operating and carrying about a manner of life, first of all, that deserves to be respected by others. And then make it worthy of others. Say, you know something, I'm able to follow him. I join with his church. I participate in his ministry. But so I have to live a certain way. So I have to lead myself. And that's when people are watching and when they're not watching. Because if you do things, based on your presence in the midst of people, that means you're not sincere, you're not genuine, you're not real, you're a hypocrite. I got to lead. I got to consider the direction I'm going, the decisions I'm making, the choices that I am selecting. I got to lead myself. I want to lead myself to a better place and a better position than controlling. Woo! Let me think about this. How controlling. That means you got to consider your performance. Are you able to control yourself while you're waiting, when you have things that are trying to instigate your emotions? Do you have control of your feelings? I mean, there's some people that retaliate at the smallest thing. And it's not that it's a one-time event, but it appears to be something that's constant. Every time one small thing, you have a boom, it instigates your rage, your anger. You got to retaliate because you do not have control. When you're waiting on the promises, you have to learn how to have control. Control of your emotions, control of your feelings, control of your desires and your passion. You gotta have control. You gotta be in such a situation that when everybody else is falling out, people are losing their mind because they cannot understand the things that are going on that seem so devastating. You're in control. Yes. That you're maintaining your equilibrium because you're waiting on the promise. And you don't want to do anything in a moment of rashness that's going to come back later on to frustrate your life. I mean, just think. You had Abraham and Sarah. God had given him a promise. Understand? God gave him a promise. The promise is that y'all going to have children. And that you're going to be father of many nations. And he had been, he'd been trying. Understand? He'd been trying, but he had not had no child. 75 years old, God comes and said, you're going to have a child. He said, okay. And so now, this is what I want you to do. I want you to lead. He followed God's instruction. He left his homeland. He left his family. He left his kindred. He left his father. And he went out because God made him a promise. But he get there, 75 passes, 80 passes, 85 is approaching, 90's coming. Whoa, God, something wrong. When I was 75 years old, you told me I was going to have a child. Lord, right now I'm approaching 90. And it don't look like it's happening in Sarah, Lord, she get to that age, Lord, She said, listen, maybe this is what God said. That you take my servant and you can have a child through my servant. Now understand this here. Could you imagine Abraham, I'll be an orphan, a young girl? Ooh, he's 90 years old, but he's yet alive. You're 90 years old, and those emotions, we don't know what was going through his mind as he's there in the house, and the girl is just scampering around. Yes, master, yes, we don't know. But all of a sudden, those emotions and those desires start rising up. He did not have control. And because he did not have control, a child was born. A child named Ishmael was born. And then that child's mother and that child created havoc and chaos in the life of Sarah and Abraham. And then when the promised child came along, all of a sudden now that God had promised them. Because we did not exercise control. Manage while you're waiting. We always got to have that mindset. I got to manage properly. Manage. See, the direct opposite of sound management is mismanagement. With it comes confusion, lack of direction, and ultimately failure. It's one thing, and most of us, and I even myself, have been in cases where I said, Lord, what should I do? Lord, I just don't see how I'm going to make it. How am I going to survive? I can't see it. I don't know how I'm going to. Lord, how am I going to? Lord, you gave me a promise, but I don't know when. I don't know how. And we're in darkness. We're in darkness. And you got to manage while you're in darkness. And that is the time that you seek the light of Christ. The light of Christ. And then we want to look at not only you manage, but you're waiting. So you're managing, but now you're waiting. And understand there's 4 things about waiting. Waiting is the action of staying where one is delaying action until a particular time or until something else happens. So you're managing that time where you're in a particular place until something else happens. You're waiting for God to give you some indication. Notice this here. Simeon, he was managing the time, managing the situation until one day, all of a sudden, the Holy Spirit said, now go to the temple. Because the promise I gave you is there. Not the day before, not the day after. On this particular day, the Spirit spoke to him. Just imagine if he said, Lord, I'm tired today. Lord, I got to take care of this today. I got to do that today. Lord, my schedule won't allow me to go to the temple because I got all these things on my agenda. And sometimes we have to understand that while you're waiting for God to do something, and you're maintaining the course. You're maintaining to hear a word from God, to get direction from God. You're looking for the hand of God to intervene, to say, it's time. You're waiting for God to show you evidence that he's coming and fulfilling the promise. So you cannot fill your schedule with all these other activities because you're waiting. And that's what happens sometimes. Because now you're waiting, you feel, okay, since I'm waiting on God, I might as well get involved in this organization and that organization. I might as well hang out with my friends and I may well do this and do that. And you don't understand. That is not proper waiting. Waiting is to stay in place in expectation of God's promise. You stand in place. You're not vacillating. You're not moving around. You're not so frivolous and so flighty until you're moving from place to place and involved in everybody else's business. I mean, you got to be careful because all of a sudden people start dumping on you. All of a sudden you know everybody's life and their story. Stay in place. Spend some alone time with God. Is to be ready and available. Because even when, it's amazing what God does, that even while you're waiting, there's time that he may give you an assignment. Yes. He may give you a responsibility. He may give you something that he wants you to do. during your period of managing while you're waiting. You say, okay, I want you to do this here. And it may seem to have no connection with the promise at all, but you know God, I've told you to do it. You know, I got to do this. And sometimes it may require you to alter your schedule, to begin to change your activities and the things that you're doing, to reorganize your priorities. Waiting is the perfect vaccine for those things that have no place in your life. Oh, but yeah, I thank God so much because when I'm doing the period when I'm waiting, I'm able to assess, Lord, what can I let go of? I mean, sometimes we have piled so much on our plate. So many things that we thought was so important. It is during the period of waiting that we could sit back and reassess our values. Reassess the things that we thought was highly important for us to do. And I have found out there's a whole lot of things that would require my time that didn't deserve my time.
Right, that's true. That's true. Not at all.
Waiting is the perfect vaccine for those things that have no place in your life. We are now living a period of time where we have this coronavirus. Now we're in the Omicron variant. I was out in the cold weather, 3 hours waiting for a vaccine.
Speed that. Jesus.
Some people are there 4 hours, 5 hours waiting to get a test or to get the vaccine because they don't want this to be a part of their life. What is a part of our life that needs to be expelled? What needs to be reassessed, the value that we placed on it? I said, no. I want to make sure that what I'm doing, what I'm engaged in, is not going to hinder, delay, or abort the promise of God. See, we have to understand the benefits of waiting. First of all, our priorities become clear. Priorities become clear if I'm waiting. I mean, just think, those that go for higher education, they go to colleges. There's a promise that the college give you. The promise is if you complete a certain number of credits, we will give you a diploma. We will certify that you have completed the course and now you are qualified to go in that area of discipline and present yourself to an employer as a qualified employee. We guarantee you that our diploma, our certification is evidence that you have fulfilled the course. Now the thing about it is, when they make that promise to you, you have not entered yet. You're making an application. And so now when you make the application and you're sitting there on the day of orientation, and they're saying, okay, in most cases, 4 years. Some people may do it in 5 or 6 years. Some may take a little bit longer. But they say, you complete these number of credits, you will receive the diploma. And so what do you do at that time? Those that are smart, they begin to prioritize. They begin to reorder their life. They now begin to get their structure together because for the next 4 years, their focus is on three credits at a time. Or per semester, 12 credits, 15 credits. I got to do this because I want to graduate on time. They begin to prioritize. All of a sudden now, I can't hang out like I used to hang out. Some of the friends that I used to have in high school, I cannot be friends with them anymore. Because I got to go. They don't have the same goal. They don't have the same plan. They don't have the same destination as me. We got to prioritize.
Amen.
You got to begin to put in order the things that's now that that for education. We may do that for a job. 30 years and I'll give you a pension. 30 years and you'll get Social Security. 30 years and we'll give you this and we'll give you a gold watch and all that kind of, and you may retire. And then we begin what? Prioritize our life. I know 8 to 4:30 I got to be at that job. And if I'm not there, I got to make sure I call them up and let them know I'm not coming. And this is the reason why I'm not coming. I know I got 2 weeks vacation every year. But I know that on my job, they give me assignments. I got to fulfill those assignments. And I'm not going to let, JoJo and Boo Boo and Holy, I'm not going to let that stop me from reaching the goal of fulfilling the assignment that my job required. Because they gave me a promise. They give me a check at the end of every payday. An incentive to keep me on course. To wait for the promise. And we prioritize our life. And the thing about it, we don't think about that when it comes to God. And with His promises. It makes sense in the natural. It makes a whole lot of sense to make sure you have everything intact so that man be able to observe you fulfilling your responsibility, your obligations as you wait. And even while you're on that job, they're saying, listen, we expect you to be timely. We expect you to fulfill your responsibilities. We expect you to not be a person that will be insubordinate. They lay their expectations down. And if we want to maintain that job, we stay in line and we prioritize. Benefits of waiting is you develop perseverance. Preserving is building habits, emotional, physical, and spiritual muscles. So when we crack the goal we've been aiming at, we are equipped for the demands of the new season. So so as you're waiting and you're developing perseverance, you're really developing the muscles, you're developing the emotions, you're developing the spiritual things that's necessary, that the promise, when it comes, you're able to receive it. Because God gives us promises. He gives us, it's more than just the physical thing that we're looking for. God has so much more that's attached to the promise, so much more that He wants us to engage in and participate in, because He wants us to be able to accomplish something that will glorify Him through the realization of the promise. Let me return back to our expectation on acquiring these properties. Understand this, we cannot think like when we're renting someplace. We cannot act like we're renting someplace. No, this is going to be someplace that we acquire, that we own. That means that we got to start thinking like owners. Yes. I mean, this week, last week, my wife said, listen, we need to go over to those properties and clean up around them. Now, they're not in our name yet, but we got to start acting and behaving like they are. It snowed this past weekend, and the building had previously gotten citations for snowing. So you know what happened on the day that it snowed? Brother Gordon, Brother Harold, myself was out there shoveling snow on properties that don't even have our name on it yet. Because we got to think like it's ours. Nobody else taking care of it. And the building department, they come by and write a violation and they increase the charges. We got to start thinking like owners. You don't wait till you buy a house to start thinking like a property owner. You got to prepare yourself. You got to get things in order. I mean, it's one thing just writing one check and it pays everything. It's another thing when you have the mortgage, the insurance, the utilities, and then the maintenance and the upkeep. It's a whole different ball game. Whole different level of responsibility. And I'm expecting God to do something. So it's not just getting a building. Yes. It's about the community, about what God wants to do to manifest His glory. And that's why He talked to us. This I'm giving to you. But you got to wait. And while you're waiting, What are you going to do? How are you going to prepare? I can't give on the same level I used to give. I got to give a whole lot more. Because now listen, it's raising, the value is raising, the responsibility is raising. So therefore, I got to say, you know something? I got to step up to the plate. Because I want this. And I want to see God move and operate. So therefore, I got to demonstrate it. I got to demonstrate it sincere. I can't, give $1 here, $1 there. No. We're at a different level now. I mean, you talk about furnishing that place? Some of y'all know what the price is already. But really, that's only the price to get in the building. What about the equipment that's going to be needed, the furnishings that's going to be needed? You got to develop the perseverance, the muscles that come along, that when the promise arrives, that you're ready and able to handle. I heard a story about this woman who had been asking for a husband. And she belonged to a church. And they made a spiritual church, and they talk about, being celibate before marriage and preparing, And she just loved Jesus, and she maintained celibacy before marriage. And, she'd go home, and the guy came and would date her and all that kind of stuff. But, they maintained a very Christian-like relationship. But on the day of the marriage, they get ready to get married. And they go and they're in the hotel room or wherever, and she don't let him touch her. And then a couple of days go by, and she don't let him touch her. She wasn't prepared for marriage. She had the idea of marriage, but she didn't know everything that was involved in marriage. About being intimate with your husband. And so therefore it caused the marriage to dissolve. She didn't have to understand. And there's some people, and I'm pretty sure some of y'all know some people that got married and they had no clue what marriage is all about. They just had this promise, I'm going to get married. Oh, they didn't know about the kids that would come along. They didn't know about the responsibility financially. They didn't know about having to go to work when you felt like it, when you didn't feel like it. They didn't know about mowing the lawn and shoveling the snow and taking out the garbage and washing the dishes and keeping the house clean. They didn't know about the cooking. They did the same thing over and over and over. Because they weren't prepared. We could have this promise, but not prepared when it comes. Because we have not persevered and helping and working to develop the correct muscles that when it comes, I'm ready to handle it. Benefits of waiting. Oh man. Wow. Okay, let me just close out these last couple of things. Productive habits. You got to develop productive habits while you're waiting. I mean, you look at your life and notice the things that are unproductive and things that are productive. I had recently had to change it because I realized that more and more responsibility is resting on me now as we move forward and when the problems are realized. So I can't wait to then to get the habit. I got to start developing habits now. So I just changed some things of what I was doing. Some things that I just was procrastinating in. Now I got to change how I do it. Got to get on top of things. Next, understanding yourself. This is one of the most vital things about waiting. Get to know who you are. Yes. Oh yeah, when things are going well, you think you know who you are. You look in the mirror, you got all these ideas, but when you're waiting, when you are sitting there and you have to look at yourself and you realize there's nothing else you can do, that you are defenseless, that you have no support, that you have to depend on the Lord, you got to find out who you are. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame, not about the friends, not about your... Waiting allows you to see yourself as you never yourself. You begin to see and the things that you may have been deceived about yourself. All of a sudden you begin to find out, oh, you're not as holy as you thought you are. You're not as righteous as you thought you are. You're not as patient and kind. You find out that you have some dispositions that need to be addressed. Waiting allows you to get an understanding of who you are. Waiting creates space in your life. Precious time to get in touch with what is going on inside of you. Gotta find out the things that are pushing your buttons. Why people are able to do things and all of a sudden you lashing out. You gotta begin to notice your reaction to things. You're able to see yourself while you're waiting on the promise. God just wants you to see yourself. Look at yourself. Begin to analyze yourself. Don't look at nobody else. Waiting is not time to analyze nobody else but you. Then waiting increases our capacity. It is uncomfortable, inconvenient, and makes us face things about ourselves that we rather avoid. But if we let it, it stretches us beyond what we think our limits are. And there we discover there was a whole lot more to us than we ever knew. Yeah, it's just something. There's more about you than you know. And many times I've been covered up by this camouflage of the surface stuff. But there's some things that's deep inside of us that the Lord want to bring out. When I was going through a very, very hurtful and painful period in my time, in my life, and I was waiting because I'd just been devastated. I just lost my first wife and going through financial catastrophe and going through situations trying to raise some kids. And it's then that God began to bring out of me things that was in me that I never knew was there. Things that were really I'm now utilizing today in ministry. Things that I did not give attention to before. Things that was dormant, that was inside, that was latent. God said, now, okay, let me use this time to begin pulling out of him. And that's the thing about the wealth of the world. Notice that the wealth of the world is in the ground. It's in the ground. You got to drill to get the oil, drill to get the diamonds, drill to get the gold, drill to get to platinum, drill to get to all of these fine, valuable resources. You got to drill to get down to them. And sometimes God got to drill through the things that are in our spirit and in our flesh to get to the heart of our soul and our spirit, to bring out the seeds that he has put in us for the things that he wants us to do, to bring out the gifts and talents that are in us. Yes. Some of your gifts and talents will not be realized as long as you're flying along and you're involved in everything. No, get by yourself. Get alone. Wait on God till he brings out the glory of his presence in you. Amen. The things that he has for you to do. Yes. And want you to experience. Some gifts and some talents will not happen in the light of the presence of others. Amen. It's got to be in a closed closet. It got to be in a place of isolation. Got to be in a place where no one else but you and God are. He increases your capacity while you wait. Amen. Oh, man. I'm about to stop there. Amen. Bless the Lord. I want to go further. I got so much more. I thought I would.
Say it again, Jesus. There's power in the name of